Hello there everyone, Marshall here, and I'm bringing you a 1 versus 1 between Mot and Nick. So this is a very good 1 versus 1. Now, before we really get into the 1 versus 1, we'll let the players spawn in and do whatever while I just do this whole mumbo-jumbo stuff. We've reached 400 PA videos now! Thank you very much everyone for sticking with me until this point. I know we're sort of going through, gradually going up the subscriber tree, I suppose, very, very gradually indeed. But it means a lot to me, considering I started casting PA quite so long ago. So thank you very much, guys, for sticking with me, and I will be making a special video for the 400. I don't know when I'm going to get round to doing it, but it is coming. I have had this idea for a long time, and it only makes sense that we'll be doing it for the 400, as it were. So, thank you very much, folks. Now, into the game! In light blue, North Spawn on this map that I hope you recognise from Supreme Commander, folks. I have tried to recreate Finn's Revenge. I have called it Finn's Resurgence. This was a game testing this map effectively. Over here you got the 2 islands with the 3 mechs, and over here you have this sort of islandy rock thing as well with a mechs on there. Spawns are opposite, of course. Anyway, Nick going bots first, getting the Commander Reclaim out in a second. Vehicle second as well, then more vehicles with lots of P-gens in there. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of tree reclaiming, because that is going to boost your economy. Vehicles are going to be very potent on this map, of course, though, because of these choke points. T2 vehicles especially. Certainly later on into the game, I reckon Shellers will be really good at pushing back choke points. But anyway, let's go to Mot's side. Down here, what's he up to? He's gone bots first as well. He hasn't reclaimed his comm, however. He's just going straight for Trico. He's keeping his commander nice and healthy there. He's got a 5 layout as well, which is going to go and scout. And an air fabber. So could he be running for these islands super duper early? That is a possibility. Just to let you know, folks, on this side of the map, I have put a whole bunch of mountains so that it kind of localizes the naval play. So, it's Finn's Revenge. Me not having spectated too many Supreme Commander games doesn't know how it's supposed to play out, but we can assume that players are going to play for these choke points. They're going to try and get down all the mechs in their bases, get up some T2 quite early, maybe see some naval as well. Most of the mechs is relatively coastal and raidable by things like orcas, especially T2 naval would be very, very powerful. Excuse me, very, very powerful indeed. But we'll have to see if it actually gets to that, as I reckon T2 vehicles are going to be much more important going forward in this game. Now, this map is small enough that I don't think we need picture-in-picture, but I'm going to put it there anyway so you can see the general battlefield while I go in on stuff. So the air game from Mot, only a single air factory. From Nick, also only a single air factory. Mot, however, has decided to use it in terms of expansion. Nick, meanwhile, sending units here, there and everywhere. He's got a few docks coming in and going around the coastline, perhaps lying in wait for some raiding here. A few ants and docks pushing in on this side, however, will be able to cause a little bit of a stir. In fact, those... were they reclaiming that? I think they were. I think they were genuinely reclaiming that tank. Nice. That is most curious, but it works out. And he gets his mechs, and he keeps his fabbers. Meanwhile, on this side, though, not so lucky. Combat fab goes down, so Mot, for the time being, loses his Trico, which perhaps is a good thing, considering he's not necessarily got the power to be coping with combat fabs right now. He's only running on 5, almost 6 P-gens for 5 factories, a number of fabs, air fabs, so he definitely needs to get some more power up. Meanwhile, though, Nick doing what you'd expect again on 5 factories, so both players equal here. Nick gone for 3 vehicles, Mot the same. However, Nick has got much more metal at this point. Plus, he's still reclaiming his comm, which gets him an additional 30. So potentially, one could argue that Mot has greater eco here, but the fabbers are on the run. The bomber is trying desperately to chase them down. Will it succeed? He nabs one, leaving the other with most of his internal organs scrambled there by the look of that health bar. But again, it's early game. It's Finn's Revenge, or in PA Resurgence. It's you know, it's going to be a bit of poking and prodding, seeing if you can get through anywhere. The important thing on maps like this, though, is not to overextend. If you overextend, then your opponent has the opportunity to push right in. Nick on this side, though, managing to take most of this sort of corridor on the right side there. Getting all the way down so far as this Galata here as well, which is going to be quite a nice pick. Will give his air a bit more of an ability to go in different places, although Mot's air is still a threat to it. I mean, Mot's air fabber, though, doing work over here. He's expanded to these 3 mechs and is going to do so here. Let's have a look at the build queues there. He hasn't set anything else up yet. T2 coming up in both bases now. And the air from Nick will be able to spy this. Really nice. Nicely done there. If we look at where they're getting their vision there, he now sees the T2 vehicles halfway done. Mot, however, does not see anything from Nick's base right now. So he doesn't know quite what the factories are, quite where the T2 is at. Now, we've had, if any of you have been paying attention to various comment sections on various recent videos, especially from the Super Commander tournament, excuse me, there's been a number of discussions about scouting and the fact that you see it less and less, seemingly, in PA at the moment. And while there is something to be said for just being able to kind of gauge what your opponent has based on what they're throwing at you, it's also important to know where it is, where their forces are, and quite how far they're at in terms of their build queue, especially as far as T2 is concerned. And the reason I say where their factories are is because if you know that one side is defended or whatever, and you know that another side isn't, don't just send your units in on the defended side, send them in on the other side, you know. It's just common sense, right? And I'm just looking at the third game in the Kazipko versus Admiral General series from the Super Commander tourney, where Kazipko basically throws all his units into a massive defensive structure and army. If he'd scouted, he would have known that that's where his army and defensive structure was, so he could have just gone elsewhere, perhaps. And would have perhaps not have had the same turnout in that game as we did. Meanwhile, though, in this one, finally from Nick, his tanks are getting even further in now. Mot's got a whole group over here just sort of waiting for enough numbers to be able to make Mot's confidence think that he should be able to push forward. Coming up, though, he's also got a good number of defensive units on this side, plus a commander here as well, so he should be able to stave off this force from Nick whenever he decides to push in. I think it's a good idea for Nick right now to not necessarily push in. He's holding this mechs, he's keeping Mot hemmed in, and he's got his own map control. So as long as these units are here, Nick could potentially move some fabricators up and start building and being a right old nuisance along this whole coastline here. So that is an opportunity he might wish to exploit. Yeah, going in again, getting a bit of scouting, nothing new there. He sees this force and instead decides, oh, I was going to say, instead decides to push in, but he does decide to retreat there. Thereafter, I believe that is the better decision. Mine's coming up from Nick on the western side now. Western, yeah. Left side, we'll just go left, right. Left side, I like this. This is good. It's nice and thin enough that mines are going to be very, very powerful there, especially if skitters are not mixed in. We do now have, however, levelers coming in. This could be interesting for Mot, considering Mot is only just beginning to get his levelers sorted, and he's sending all his units in the opposite direction, and his commanders sat right here, and there's levelers on his doorstep. Mot, doth thou not see blue pings? What are these little... You see these dots? Get your commander out of there, Mot. There we go, he's running for the hills. He wants to not be there right now. But looking at this force coming in, they could do a fair bit of damage there. We've finally got some T2 mechs up, but that's going to go straight down there. Not surviving at all. The commander on the other side of the factory is going to survive, though, because that factory is in the way. Can his forces get back in time? Boombots hopefully going to go in. No, not against Blooming Infernos. It didn't quite do the work that they perhaps needed to. Finally, his commander realising that factory isn't long for this world, getting back even further. Docks moving forward, being a bit of a bullet sponge, allowing the tanks to come in from behind to do most of the damage, and as a result defends very successfully from that. In the picture-in-picture, though, you can see that even more forces are continuing to follow up. The issue is, however, that they are coming in one by one or two by two rather than as a clump, and so Mot will be able to completely repulse these guys because as they've been so commonly referred to many times now as spaghetti strats, where people basically form a line of spaghetti as they go in with their units. It's not great for you. You want to blob up, maybe form a concave, but certainly going in one by one, you're maybe getting one shot off against about 5 people all focusing you down at once. It's not great. As a result, Nick will be able to be pushed back here. Nicely done from Mot there, and actually that was really nice defense. He only lost a very small amount there. He's getting up his second T2 factory as well. A few docks coming in against a few defensive lines there. The fabricator does go down, however the docks are defended, as are these two mechs. Still a few empty mechs, and yeah, there we see from Nick finally some fabricators pushing up the side. Being a bit of a nuisance there. If that turret gets up, that could hold Mot off for a little bit, but I feel as though there are enough levelers in here to do the trick, especially because these turrets have such slow rotation speed. He only gets one shot off before all the others come up. Walls coming up though, levelers focusing that down. Down it goes. That Faber needs to get back. And it goes down. Nice pick up there from Mot as well. That was quite a far out Faber. Only got one on this side now, getting up another T2 factory. When he got around the rest of the place though, Nick has expanded to these two rocks with an air fab. It's now wandering wherever it wants to go. And, oh my goodness, I didn't notice this. Very, very nice raiding from Nick. Very, very nice indeed, using drifters against what looks like a torpedo defensive line. Torpedoes, of course, do not hit drifters because they float. Hover, rather. Not float. Boats float and torpedoes hit those, right. But yeah, drifters taking down all that expansion from Mot. You can kind of see the economies there, neck and neck, bar the whole reclaiming shenanigans. Mot's aggression, though, completely phased off there. Very, very nice. 2 T2 factories apiece. Let's have a look in the army tab there. Wow, that is so even. Look at this. This is even Stevens right here. Must admit though, Nick's job of raiding over there was very, very well timed, considering that he's trying to squeeze Mot a little bit here. Managed to get rid of Mot's aggression there, but the question is, what's going to happen next? Are these drifters going to come in and actually do some damage around the back? I don't think they will. I think there's enough production here to really hold off against, you know, the odd few drifters coming in. The big issue though is how Nick is going to defend against Mot. And equally how Mot is going to approach attacking Nick. He's going up for his third T2 factory now. He's going to have a lot of T2 production here. A lot. Ah, Nick doing the same. Blimey. Is that as a result of scouting? Let's have a look. He does. He sees a second. He doesn't see a third, but he certainly sees a second. Mot, however, only... Well, he doesn't see any of it, but there you go. Clash, skirmish about to happen here though. Mot will lose this one, and I feel as though Mot really does need to retreat here and regroup a little bit. He's got so many combat fabs in here. And he has enough power as well to be able to really use these guys to great effect. If a few levelers go in first, imagine a Vanguard with something like 10 combat fabs. That thing is invincible. But alas, Vanguard's kind of out of the meta for PA for so very long now. But this is just such an interesting game because it's just so close. Like, look at that. Look at that army tab. It's just so close, right. Mot deciding he's ready to push in. Unfortunately, all his combat fabs are on the front lines. They all get focused down super duper quick. There are more levelers in Nick's composition here than in Mot's. I feel as though this is a very bad decision for Mot to actually push in. And if he decides to retreat, that is a very good idea for Mot. It might actually save his units and allow him to defend against any future attacks. The issue comes, though, is that he's focusing all on this right side. Nick, with these two factories here, might decide that a push down the left is due. And that would split Mot's forces somewhat. I mean, it's not a particularly large map per se to get from one side to the other. However, it can still throw your opponent off if they're focusing on one side and then, oh, wait a second, I have a whole bunch of forces coming in on this side. So we'll have to see how that works out for them. But yeah, Mot definitely does not want to push in against that. He needs to regroup. Moving his commander forward, 4th T2 factory. I'm not sure he has the metal for this. He hasn't fully expanded to all the T2 mechs in and around his base. So, yeah, he probably wants to do that. Oh, we have some levels coming in on this side now, so yeah. And there they are, they reveal themselves. Now, Mot's forces are kind of caught out in a little bubble on this side. Yes, he will have enough production to be able to stave this off, but the thing is he has to focus on it. He has to divide his attention. Nick, interesting moves, diverting his entire army to the right. Imagine the planet's flipped up. The right side, the left side, the other right. It's been a long day. Going down the left side with all of his forces. Meanwhile, all of Mot's are on the right side. Guys. What's going to happen here, I wonder? If Mot doesn't move his units back to defend, Nick is going to take out his base completely. Equally, if Mot pushes up, I'm looking at that force. I think Mot will be able to push through here. If he pushes now, could we... Are we going to see a base trade? Come on. Come on, get that base trade going on. My goodness, Nick's commander from Reclaim. 22%, not great. It's going to happen. Jeez. Right, here we go. Let's follow some of the units in there in that pip. Meanwhile, we'll follow this push in the main. Levelers coming in. Gonna take down a nice T2 factory there. Meanwhile, on the pip, Mot continuing to press in there and is actually going to get into the base. There's no more defensive units for Nick. Equally, there's no defensive units for Mot. Nick needs to push in. Why is he not pushing in? What is he doing? Why is he retreating? If this turns out to be a base trade situation and Nick doesn't take the opportunity to trade the base, he's going to leave Mot in a very, very lovely position. What's he doing? Perhaps he's going for Mot's commander here. I think maybe he's just trying to go for the quick snipe, but at this stage, I mean, this is something that happens quite a lot in PA, is that when you get to the sort of late game, sniping a commander is one thing, but sometimes going for the commander is your least effective option. And right here, that is a perfect case in point. Scouts the commander, so finally he realises the commander is over there. But could he have not just sent those straight through the base and caught the commander off there? Meanwhile, though, Mot has laid complete waste to Nick's base. Nick's commander even legging it into the water there. Oh, yeah, leave me alone, guys. Oh my goodness. I think Nick has missed the opportunity here to trade the base. I think he has. And we even have a pelter here as well. Blimey. And Mot just continuing to go round there. Look at that. Just continuing to press in. Nick's forces are gone, so Mot's been forced into the water as well with his commander. What is this? Naval factory here from Nick, not being used, unfortunately. Building up another one over there, but look at the economies, they're still not too far apart. Army tab, equally, 4 to 6, unit counts. The players have kind of been reset, but again, Mot still has his base. That's the important thing here, Mot still has his base. Nick, however, I mean, yeah, he has 2 T2 factories, and he has his mechs, but for how much longer? Couple of shellers getting picked off there. Very nice. What? Blimey. Well, talk about being sent back to the Stone Age in terms of what your base has. There's nothing left. There goes another T2. Then we can move our picture-in-picture back out into the main there. Nick continuing to push in again, not getting the scout, sees what's coming against him. Levelers and shellers. Shellers falling back a little bit so they can keep kiting these levelers all the way home. Shadow's not necessarily the best in terms of being able to target units. There we go, now they're in the range of all that defensive artillery. And a mine finishes off the last one. Very nice. And that ends Nick's ground force completely. He only has this Faber. But for how long? Mot seemingly taking the decision to go into the air here. Definitely a wise choice. And down goes the Fab. Popped. I think that's GG right there now. Mot has the land presence, therefore the metal. He can go and re-expand all he wants now. And Nick is no longer at T2 level. I mean, yeah, he has these rocks expansions over here, but what good's that going to do him? He's trying to get T2 naval up. That could work. That could work, because Mot's commander's kind of in a precarious situation as far as naval is concerned. Is he going to get back onto the land, perhaps? Where's he going? I think he is heading... What? Okay. I'll leave Mot to do whatever he wants. Bomber's starting to surface, though. Yeah, I think maybe Mot's just going for the bomb snipe here. That's going to be the most efficient way of getting rid of it. Unless he decides to go into the naval himself, but that could potentially draw out into another conflict. Thing is, all of these vehicles that Mot has would be semi-obsolete if it goes into the water there. Orca's coming out, not going to be able to defend against bombers if bomber snipe happens. You want narwhals for that. Oh yeah. What a game. There you go, bomber sniping coming. Bumblebees forming up in the middle. We need maybe double that, perhaps. I don't know. Shadows should be able to hit the commander from the coastline there, actually. But, yeah. That was a game. That was a pretty nifty game. But yeah, as I said at the beginning of the video, folks, about the whole 400 PA videos thing, stick around for the video regarding the whole, yay, we made it to 400, here's a video, special video. And of course I will be continuing to cover PA going forward. I will continue to cast. Thinking of doing some other games as well. I've been looking ever more often at Ashes of the Singularity, especially since they've, what is it, revitalized it or whatever they've done to it. So, yeah, you could see potentially more diverse RTSs here, and I've been thinking of actually moving into Supreme Commander as well. Of course, that is not leaving PA behind, that is going into extra stuff. But I'll have to see how my timings work out for the next few months, as there is potential for lots of things to be completely jumbled up and revitalised. So, I've been Marshall, folks. Hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget to pop any likes or comments, etc, etc. More PR the way, etc, etc. And bye for now. It begins. We have peacekeepers. Can he get enough peacekeepers out to be able to deal with this? I don't know if he can. He's not ready for this at all. Peacekeepers trying their hardest. Faber gets picked. Oh, MLA. Ultrafed didn't even realise he was playing MLA. What is this? What is this game? 2 lobs now, already. Combat Fab Reclaim of Trees and Commander could make even more lobs. Metal stalling for LJ. And this should be a map that works in Legion's favour. But instead...